Hello, wealthy women. I am so very excited today. This is going to be a really fun episode. It's all about the heart and the home and all the goodness that goes with it. I'm talking about cooking and deliciousness with Tricia Clark. So I don't want to steal the show. She's going to tell you all about her passion, which I really resonate with because my passion is food too. So we have so much in common. And I was just so thrilled to had my meeting with her, and then I could not wait to get her to share her story with all of you, because I know you know it's hard. We're all busy, and we want to create beautiful meals for our family and have these great connections with our families, and sometimes that doesn't happen. But Tricia is going to tell you a little bit more about her work and how you can improve your time around the dinner table. So Tricia, let us know a little bit about who you are, what your passion is, why did you do this, and what is it all about? We're happy to learn.
Yeah, I my journey has led me to be a mealtime and relationship mentor. I know it's kind of an odd title. It kind of started out as cooking coach, but really found that it's so much deeper than that. So I have a huge love of cooking, and I am a self-taught home chef. And I just discovered as a mom that there's so much perfectionism and so many expectations that we put on ourselves when it comes to mealtime that it becomes this chore and this thing of stress and overwhelm. And I was selling Pampered Chef at the time and loving that, but I just really realized that I was helping women at one touch point, but I wasn't helping them create ongoing habits that really transformed mealtime the way that I felt like it should. And so I decided that I wanted to really take my passion for cooking and building relationships and connection, and my own experiences around the table with my own kids to create something that really tied together all the pieces and the resources that are out there. So we have nutritionists and health coaches, amazing resources. We have Pinterest, which is like a rabbit hole of recipes. Again, amazing
Mhm.
resource. Meal plans, all those things. But really to tie it together to help people understand how they can all fit together that works for them personally. And that's really where my passion comes in, because every family is unique and your solution should be too. There is no one size fits all.
That is so true. And just before we get started, can you share your website address so people can learn more about you and see your offerings?
Yes, absolutely. It is triciasbitesoflife.com,
Great, great,
and you
great,
can
great.
find everything there.
And so when we first spoke, you kind of shared with me how you were putting so much pressure on yourself to make everything perfect, and then we're feeling a little bit disappointed because for all of your efforts, you would sit around the table with your family, and there wasn't as much going on as you had hoped for. And tell me about that, the self-awareness that came to you, because I know that this happens all the time with families, but you sort of did a little bit of self-reflection, and you sharing that with others might help them to consider that maybe that's some of the situation that they're having with their own family at the dinner table.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a mom of two. They are now 19 and 24. But when they were younger, and I work full time in a corporate job, and so I would come home and pick them. My husband would pick them up from school, and I'd be doing the whole rat race, right? Let's get homework done, get dinner on the table, let's get laundry done, let's get the kids bathed and get them to bed. And I had taught myself to cook watching Food Network, and so I love to cook and share my food, and I'd be so excited about trying all these new recipes and then get to the table and it would just fall flat, or I would be so rushed I would feel like I was practically throwing dinner on the table and sit down in a huff, just rushing through it trying to get to the next thing. And I just kept thinking, like, why am I so underappreciated? I try so hard and nobody wants to talk to me. And I was just really getting miserable because I had such limited time with my family. I really wanted to understand what I could do to make it better. If that's the 30 minutes we get together, what do we do differently? And, I can't really even tell you how the epiphany came about, but one of the things I realized is I was striving for perfection at home as well as at work. And to really sit back and think about the energy I was bringing to the table, and that remembering that energy is contagious. I mean, it really is kind of a simple concept, but things that we forget to relate to every aspect of our lives. And really realizing that the energy I was bringing to the table, the expectations that I was putting on them, it really wasn't about them. It was really about me. And so I had to really figure out ways to shift that energy and find ways to reduce the pressure on myself and those expectations and let go of some of that perfectionism, because that's not what I wanted to teach them either. That wasn't the example that I wanted to be. And I was seeing it in this constant strive and competition. And so I really just started simplifying. There was a time when I didn't cook any recipe more than once. Everything had to be new because they weren't impressed with the last one. So that must not be good. And so really saying, okay, I don't need to spend an hour in the kitchen. Like, how can I make it simple? How can I ask for help where I need it? And how can I find the joy in that simplicity rather than this constant feeling like I have to create, right?
I think this is so profound that were able to take it to such an additional level of understanding. I think that there's a chance that there's a good amount of us out there that don't go that far to figure it out and put the spotlight on our own selves and say, is it something that I'm doing? What can I do better? And it's admirable, all of the amazingness that you wanted to bring, and that perfectionism, and one meal only, and never repeating. I mean, of course, but what was happening, I guess what you're saying is all that pressure on yourself with something you enjoyed so deeply was now not becoming a joyful experience for you. And just having that recognition. And this is why I really wanted to share this with all of you women, because this is such, it's huge. This is relationship. It's not cooking. It's cooking. Yes, that's the side note. That's the side car, so to speak. But what Tricia is explaining is, really making such quality time with your family. And yes, we're all pressed for time. So the time that you do have, you want to make the most out of. And the fact that she just really, peeled the onion, so to speak, to figure out what was really going on. And it made her world better. It made the family's world better. And the enjoyment of the cooking came back. And then through this process, you realize, wow, if I have been doing this, I'm sure other women are doing it too. And maybe I can help them. And then a business is born, basically, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, like, the one thing I left out is what I noticed, and what really started this journey is I noticed that as I made those small changes, it impacted everything
Mm.
about the relationships we had around the table. Everything.
Oh, this is why it's so important. Oh, I love it. This is real life. This is what it's all about. We're all working so hard, but for ultimately what? Like family, love, that connection that matters to us. We have to remember to kind of check ourselves and make sure, you know, we're not just getting a to-do list and checking things off and pat on the back and I achieved that, but are you present? Are you present? And are you enjoying the experience? And is that joy, going out to the others in front of you? So I think this is so important. And this is why I'm really so glad to talk with you, because this is something, a fun, beautiful, creative, everyday experience. We eat, we do dinner, we cook, we all the things, but what you're able to help other women with or families with is to just come into relationship. And yeah, I love this it's so important, it's so valuable, especially when kids now, they're on the phones all the time, and the communication's even harder now than it might have been even years ago. So to be able to break through, that's really important. So maybe you could share just a couple of the ways. We'll get into the success questions in a few minutes, but can you give it like a couple, maybe just one or two little examples, so that anyone listening right now could potentially start to make some improvements? And of course, they can reach out to you to work with you and learn more, but maybe something actionable they can do
Yeah.
right away.
I mean, yeah, I've got a couple in mind. One is I'm going to go back to the self-reflection thing and really sit with it for a minute and ask yourself, like, if you have that resistance to cooking and the meal planning, like, really sit for a minute and ask yourself where that's coming from. Really, because I find that those stories vary so much, from never being invited into the kitchen to to having a great stay-at-home mom, but don't really want to, you want to live a different life where you're working and that's not who you want to be, or it's health related, but really think about where that resistance is coming from. Because that's, to me, one of the big keys to how do we find what it is that you enjoy about cooking, and then how do we insert joy in there? And we can't do that unless we know where it comes from, right? So that's
Absolutely.
really the introspective, the deep work of it, if you will. Another one for me, if we're talking solely about relationships, is really changing the conversation at the table from, kids don't want to talk about school and how their day went and what they learned any more than we want to talk shop when we're done with work. And yet that's our first avenue with them when they get home or at the table is, how was your day? Well, if I've
Yeah.
had a crappy day, I know that puts me on edge, right? They're really
Yeah.
no different. And
Yeah.
so really changing the way those conversations happen with open-ended questions. We did what was the best part of your day? We always started with what was the worst part of your day? And then we would ask the best part of the day. And then we would ask, what was the strangest thing that happened today?
Mhm.
Because it just flipped it. They were allowed to get it out, but it wasn't who's your favorite teacher? What's your favorite subject? What did you learn? Right? Those are that
Did you do
really
your
opens
homework? Yes.
up. I keep these cards around, these table topics cards, and
Ah,
I take them everywhere, and they're just a way for me to, they've always been a way for me to understand how my children think and see the world in a different way than me pointedly asking them questions that might put them on the defense.
yeah, and that's so much more fun for them too. It's sort of like a little bit of a trivia game in the house
Yeah,
about
yeah. And
the
so,
reality of the situation. Well, I love that. Now, if someone wanted to coach with you or work with you, what is something that they can expect, like a program that you offer for someone to get their feet wet and kind of get to know
yeah,
your
so
programs?
I just, and to get your feet wet, I just launched a membership program called the Cook, Connect, and Conquer Club. And we do a live Zoom meeting once a month, and it's a cook along. And so I will send you the grocery list a week ahead of time, and you come cook with me, and I give you all the fun kitchen tips. We usually do a cocktail and a mocktail. It's really more of a social hour, but one of those ways for you to get a feel for how it feels to work with me and what those tips and what my expertise looks like, to be honest. And then you get access to the replays of that. I do a fun handout or guide and recipes with every single one. And so I'm creating a vault of all of those things. And so for $37 a month, you can come cook with me once a month, connect with other women who are on the same journey, and then have access to this building vault of goodies, if you will, that will eventually then have a recipe database and meal planning aspect to it as well that you can drag and
Love
drop.
this. I love this. I love this. Okay, well, this is I just think it's such an amazing business and concept, and it's definitely something that is a benefit to all, that bring people together. So bravo on this, really, and I love the membership club. I've seen people joining already, so way to
Yeah,
go.
I'm pretty
So
excited. It's going to be super fun.
yes, okay, so we're going to get into a little success questions round, and let me put on my little reader so I can see what I'm doing. Um, and we basically covered that. But I was going to ask you, what is the number one way that building your own business, especially coming out of corporate, has enriched and empowered your life? And why would you recommend this to building a business for other women, to
Well,
how they can be empowered?
it's been such a journey of self-discovery that I don't think I ever would have been on had I not decided to build this business. And I learned very quickly that building your own business is very, very different from working in corporate America. And so I am still working in corporate America and I'm running this business. And it's really helped me get to know myself, I think, and who I am at a deeper level than I ever realized. And I think I may have just gone off topic and kind of forgotten the gist of the question, but that's that
No, but that's
journey.
about it. Empowering yourself, right?
Yeah.
Getting to know yourself and being empowered by it. I think it's the great one of the greatest lesson, educations in the world. Two things I always think is start your own business and travel as much as possible to foreign
Yes.
lands. And those two things, I mean, for me, that's some kind of great education outside of even going to college, university, and so forth. So
It really is. It really does force you to. discover the gifts that you have that, I've discovered gifts that I have beyond cooking that I'm like, oh, okay, well, that explains a lot. And now I can take that also into my corporate job. But it's also been great to realize that I can follow my passion and do this other thing at the same time. And so I would say there is a way to follow your passion and not have to leave the full-time job.
Yeah, I
And
love
you
this
can do
because this
both.
happens. Yes, exactly. I always say take a stand for the and, right?
Mhm.
You can do both. I did want to ask you though, because you had mentioned before about that whole self-reflection of, the perfectionism that you had going on, which is a thing many of us women go through. And we really have to we almost fail our way to success by realizing we don't necessarily have to be perfect. No one's expecting it, and probably no one even notices when it's perfect or not so perfect. It's all of us putting our own pressure on ourselves. But you were able to catch yourself at home at the dinner table. But I'm wondering, these lessons you said that they transferred. So how did that start to change your corporate job at work? Because you said you were also very perfect in getting things done properly with your corporate job. So did you see a change in your work, the way you do your work at your corporate job after that
I
discovery?
have. And I'm trying to think how to explain that. I think there's this sense of, before I felt like it was like, this is very professional corporate Trish, and this is how you show up to work, and this is what you're supposed to be. And as I've been on this journey, I realized that there are ways I can bring whole Trish to work. Now, granted, it's not going to be in the cooking realm of it, but I know that like one of my superpowers is building relationships and it's simplifying the complicated. And so, really realizing it and thinking about it through that lens helped me kind of reframe and understand that, like, how do I lean into my strengths at work and
Mm-hmm.
not focus so much on the things that I'm not doing right?
That's a beautiful lesson right there. What you just said, lean into your strengths, let go of the things that are not, that are a little bit more challenging, or delegate them or hire them out if you can. I mean, if it's related to your own business or tasks at home that, maybe you prefer to spend your time otherwise. Because this is that thing where women get burnt out. They just try and do everything and then do everything with perfection. And that's not sustainable, it's not, and it's not enjoyable. So I love the fact that you were able to, bring your best self and like what you said, make your strengths shine, and just allow yourself grace and a little space. And that of course always allows new and better things to enter when you make some room for that, right? That whole
Yeah, it does.
inspiration and so forth. So
I don't get
excellent,
it right
excellent.
all the time, but I had a friend and coach once mention, she gave me the best advice and it sticks with me because I still have those moments of overwhelm when I feel like I'm not doing it all well enough. And she was like, when you feel that way, I want you to think of one small thing you can do with great love. And that has
Hmm.
been so powerful when I get in that space of frenzy and overwhelm and perfection and I'm not doing it right. It's just picking that one thing to keep moving forward.
Perfect. That's really, this is, there's so many just real gold nuggets that you shared already, just by sharing your story, and how you have paid attention to yourself, how you're feeling, respected it, improved it, paid attention to others, and how you're affecting them in the good ways and maybe ways that could be adjusted. And I just think that's really important to pay attention, right? Ask yourself, is this working for me? How do I feel? Am I happy? Am I joyful? Talk to yourself. I always think, like, take 5 minutes a day, just close your eyes and breathe and just check in with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And then see, and reconnect with your big purpose. So perfect. Speaking of like everyday things, what are some empowering routines or morning routines, say, for example, that you like to do, every single day, something that you do every single day that makes you stronger, connected, and you just really feel like if you miss it, your day's a little off?
Yeah, I two things in the morning. One, my husband brings me my morning cup of coffee in the morning, and that's sort of our few minutes to just sit there and chit chat and maybe even share stupid TikTok videos. Like, it's my few minutes before the day gets started. And then I always, almost every day, do a few minutes of meditation in the morning just to get myself in the right headspace. And it's not every day, but it's most days. And I can tell, I know when I need it and when my brain is feeling like it's, squirrel brain running all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then I love to go to sleep with, a short hypnosis session. Again, just the same thing, just to kind of
That's great.
tune
That's
everything
really
out and
great.
wind down.
Starting it the right way, finishing it the right way. And of course, when you're going to sleep, to have that kind of meditative, relaxation to go into your deep sleep with is really helpful. I need to do something like that. I have my morning routine, but I have to work on an evening
Yeah.
routine for sure.
Well, I
So
also have when I get off work, now here, this goes back to my love of cooking, but when I get off work, the transition for me into personal time is I come upstairs and I turn on some music, whatever my mood is whatever I need my mood to do. If I need to improve it, chill it, whatever, I have a playlist for it. I pour a glass of wine and I start the prep of cooking, because to me, that is part of my self care routine. I've discovered that is repetitive, almost mindless, and it sets me up for
yes,
success in preparing that food. So, again, kind
I
of a tip
love
there,
that.
but also that is
Yes.
part of my self care routine every day.
I love it because now we're talking morning, mid, and evening.
Mhm.
So you are checking in quite a lot, which is really super important and helpful. But I like that, you have declared it a ritual, a routine, because then it feels like the gift that you're giving to yourself, which that's like my main message to every woman out there. You want the big goals, the big business, the big dreams, the whatever it is. You have to start with the small things, and the small things are little things. Like, here's an example, like I'll just share with you. So on Monday I had to do so much content creation, and I loved it. I really, really do, but I wanted to make my surroundings look a little bit better. So I went and bought myself some fresh little white flowers. It's beautiful. I look at them every day and I'm like, oh, hello, beautiful flowers. And they make me light up. And like, I actually talk to my flowers because they're living, they're beautiful. And it's these little things that are so important. So I'm always about the little things. Make sure you do little moments of self-care all along your day that makes you feel worthy and special, because all of that is building a muscle, and it will help you so much to not only reinforce the fact that you are so valuable and you deserve your dreams to come true, and they will, but you're building that muscle for the bigger dreams that require maybe a little bit more. So I love that. These rituals like morning, midday, and evening. Tricia, that's fantastic. I need to up my game.
It's taken me a
Yeah.
while to get there. I mean, honestly, I didn't start meditating until 2 years ago. And then the hypnosis probably started, a couple of months ago. And so, it's just building it and figuring out what works for you. I
Yeah.
mean, a walk could be your meditation, your run could be your meditation. Like, it doesn't have to be the,
Yes,
oh.
exactly. Exactly. I agree with you. Okay, so here's another like business question. What would you change about your business journey if you could go back in time? If you would change anything at all?
Oh, wow. I mean, I can think of several things, but that's also a tough one for me, because I truly try to live a life of no regrets, because with every poor decision comes a lesson learned, right? So,
Hmm.
um, I just have a tendency to like dive headfirst into everything that I do. And I would say understanding the basics and the bones of what I needed to understand, I think I would have done a little bit differently. But it's also just not me. So I think the biggest thing I would say is really, really learn to trust your intuition first,
Hmm.
because I've made so many decisions and I've spent so much money trying to figure out what it was that I needed to get my business off the ground, and not realizing how much self work there was to do first. So I would say really, really trust your intuition and try not to get distracted by all the shiny objects and all the noise out here in the online space.
Yes, I can agree with that. When I was first starting, the whole thing, for me it was, I just wanted to learn everything, and I was being told to have to be everywhere and do everything, and then all of a sudden the excitement turned into complete overwhelm,
Mhm.
but I still wouldn't release myself from it. I was just being so hard on myself. Well, you have to learn this and you have to do this and you have to get that. And then all of a sudden it just became too much, where I was losing the joy and the passion for what I was originally starting this for. And then I remember there was a one book that I should say one book because that's almost the title, but I think the title was The One Focus or something about one. And I read it and it was everything that I needed to hear. And then I realized, okay, wait a second. I can just do one thing at a time. And I do things differently now, where before I might have like 3 to 5 different types of activities for my business every day. Now I block my time. Mondays, like I just said, Monday's my content day. So is Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's, getting on the phones, meeting people, doing the lives. And this works for me because then I know that how I have to show up. And so you have to go through the tough times of being a tidal wave over you a little bit almost, where until you say enough, and then you start putting boundaries in place out of self-love, and all the things start to get easier. And then I always suggest, if you can, delegate some of the things, or don't do everything. If find the thing that brings you the most joy and is the most beneficial for your business, and then just focus on that. You can always add things later, right? But yeah, shiny object syndrome, and then wanting to do everything all at once. I think a lot of us experience that. It's part of going through the trenches, I think, of learning about yourself, right? Okay, the next question I had is, how do you deal with fear and doubt, especially when, getting in front of the camera? This is kind of a new thing that is expected from almost all of us business owners, to get out there on Zoom and do trainings and lives and all the things. And it's a little rattling at first. And so do you have any advice for somebody who's just starting that, how they can overcome that fear?
Okay. So I keep saying that's a tough one. The reason the camera has never been an issue for me. But I need this exchange of energy. So it feels good to me. The written post is much more intimidating to me, and how that's going to land. Can they feel my intent behind it? So I think whether it's written or it's video, that fear and doubt comes with any new thing that we're trying. Like, I put off doing a podcast for more than a year that somebody mentioned, because I was like, oh, there is no way I could ever do a podcast. And I launched one in June and I'm loving it. It's the most fun. And so I think the biggest thing I would say again, and there's so much self-reflection in this, but it really is, do I not want to do this because I'm scared, or because it really doesn't feel right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's because I'm scared, what's one small thing I can do to overcome that fear? And, one of the ways I learned to get comfortable on doing Facebook lives is there's an option on Facebook to just go live to yourself. So you can practice without the whole world seeing it. And so I did do that a little bit, just in terms of like that deer in the headlights when the camera starts. And then really just be willing to make fun of yourself and just roll with it. Because the truth is, people that are watching are not looking for polished and perfect. They're looking for real people more than ever. We have enough polished and perfect out here on all the social interwebs. People want real. And so don't worry about what your hair looks like. Don't worry about your makeup being perfect. Just share what's important to you. Yes. And eventually the rest will come, right?
I love that. Absolutely. Two things that you said there that I just kind of want to highlight is, one, we are absolutely in the best time to be doing live videos now, because I do believe that when everything first started, it must be polished and perfected. I mean, remember Instagram, like everything was photoshopped and perfect. And this intimidated, I think, most of us, like, to get on camera. And then there was a total shift, a backlash, like where it was sort of like, enough. I'm just me. I'm real, flaws and all. And then when you even see the, let's say, multi-million-dollar coaches out there that are having their hair in a bun, no makeup, on an exercise walk, and, or the background they're doing a live Zoom meeting training and the background is messy. Nobody cares anymore. It's relatable. And what this did was take so much pressure off of us to just show up and serve. And that's what it comes down to. because this has allowed us now to share our soulful message and serve, because that's why most of us women are creating our own businesses. We have a passion to help, right? And so if we get so caught up in, oh, I can't because this, that, and the other thing, well, then we're not serving anybody, and then we're not fulfilling our purpose. And this is just hurting us, it's hurting others. And so I love this. I think we're in a most perfect time right now to just show up no matter what, right?
Yeah,
So
and you
yeah,
will find a lot of times I will not have makeup on if I'm in my kitchen or whatever I'm doing. I'd say that was probably the hardest thing. It's not so much that going on video was hard for me, but I did have to get over that. How do I look? Right?
yeah,
Because of the
I think
years of
all of
seeing all
us,
the
yeah.
polished and perfect. And the only thing I would say is just keep doing it. I think you'll be surprised by the feedback that you get is more about you being real.
Yes, absolutely. So this was really important because this should take away everybody's fear of getting on camera. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. And just ignore any bad comments because they're always going to happen, and just don't pay attention to them. So, okay, let's see. How would you define success, and what does it look like in the day in your life? Like if you had the perfect day, what's that success day look like?
Oh, I've had to redefine my I've had to redefine success for myself. And I think I've really come to realize that success for me, and it changes all the time, but success for me right now feels like I accomplished the three things on my to-do list and I made family time a priority because I do have tendencies to just want to work on what I do all the time because I love it. And
Yes.
so I have a tendency to forget about I can easily forget about those relationships that are so core to who I am and I can forget to nurture them. And so for me,
Mm,
I'm defining success one day at a time of did I do the three things on my list? Did I make time for those that are important to me? And do I feel good about what I accomplished today?
I
And
love
I'm
it.
trying to keep it really simple and one day at a time because breaking up with that whole hustle mentality has been one of the biggest challenges for me.
Yes, I love that you mentioned this hustle mentality because I actually have to change a post that I just did because I have the word hustle, but it's a cute thing, but I'm like, I don't like that word. So I have to actually change it. But anyway, yeah, the whole idea, now it's like I say, there are those days, where you just can't just get in the groove. I mean, you have to show up for the appointments you said, and, or like if you have a job, you have to show up. But, when those moments come where you're just not feeling it, I always suggest, just sit, relax, take 20 minutes, take a little nap, see if you can recharge yourself. If you can't, it's also okay because sometimes if you allow yourself that downtime, so much more will come to you because you're creating space for it instead of just forcing yourself to do your shoulds and have tos. And that never feels really good. So I like this idea of, like you said, you have a simple let me do three things and spend time with my family. It's kind of similar to what I had said for myself. I said when I was doing this, because I, like you, was in that whole overwhelm of all the things I need to do, should do, blah blah. The to-do list never ends. And then I said, okay, on a bad day for me, when I don't have that much energy or just even my mood's off, what is the least that I can do? And then I basically would say, okay, that's my foundation. Then I will at least be able to do that because even on my bad day, I can show up for some of it, right? And then it's like what typically happens, let's pretend it's cleaning or something. You don't want to clean, but you say, okay, I'll do cleaning for 10 minutes. And all of a sudden you're in the groove. And the next thing you know, 40 minutes have gone by. And it's the same thing with work. Sometimes it works, just a little bit and you get the ball rolling. So, but then if you need the rest, take the rest too. So,
I discovered on
um,
this journey that I am not motivated by money. And so the more I obsess and chase money, the worse I do. And so by really focusing on really on making it about everybody else and less about the financial goal, then I find that I'm more successful that way. And so that's why you don't financial goals aren't really usually part of my vocabulary for that reason.
yes, I love that. And I think that there's many of us women that feel that way too. About like the biggest thing, like for me, like my big thing is time freedom. Money is important so you can enjoy that time freedom. but like you said, the relationship, health, serving others, and luckily all these things can, bring in
Mhm.
prosperity to you. So that's the thing. But yeah, you never want to just do something for the money because it's never going to last, especially, for most of us women, we're just too connected to, our nature and, comforts and serving and feel good. And we have to really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I have one last question for you, and I think this is a really good one. You pretty much, I think we know why you are so special in what you're doing, but this question is for people to understand because there's cooking clubs out there, there's recipe boxes and this, that, and the other thing, but yours is so special. So just kind of emphasize a little bit more for this last question. How do you set your business apart from others in your industry?
Yeah. So many, there are other people that do what I do out there. Most of the time, they're focused on some aspect of health. And that's amazing. For me, I'm not a health coach. I mean, you'll hear me say I love carbs and cocktails all the time. I'm really more about,
Yes, me too.
I love carbs and cocktails. And so if you're going to come sit with
That
me,
it
you're going to
should
get
be
both
the
of them.
title of your book. You have to write a book now, and
I
that
should.
should be your title.
I
Yes.
should. I love carbs and cocktails. So, but what you get with me is really somebody who really tries to get to know you at the deepest of levels. And I use a little bit of human design and some bank personality profiling and really try to understand your family, your lifestyle, who you're feeding, your schedule, so that we can really dive into where do we start and how do we experiment to find out what works for you. And I think that's really where it's not like this is my program and you're going to watch 12 modules. Like it's really more about working with me and really doing a lot of that self-reflection that we've talked about. And then we experiment. Like, for example, I love sheet pan meals and I don't love using the slow cooker. You might love using the slow cooker. And maybe you've tried all these other things and not that. So it's finding out that, oh, I can do this multiple days out of the week. And then you get excited. And then we talk about ways to infuse fun. And then we talk about ways to mix those recipes up to make them your own and switching out flavors. And so it's really turning cooking into fun and adventure, which then really translate into connection because when you make interesting food, and I'm not talking gourmet fancy food, but when you make interesting food, even when it's simple, that creates conversation in and of itself. Even bad food and a food failure in the kitchen results in laughter and conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we remember Julia Child dropping the chicken on the floor.
Exactly. Exactly.
Classic. Oh my goodness, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
So
I've created a group so that you can share those stories with other women on the same journey in the group program. And then we can also work one-on-one. It's really, I can meet you where you are and really personalize it. I would say that's what really sets me apart. And the other thing is that I'm so focused on how do we simplify it so that you can shift that energy from I have to feed these people to I have an opportunity to connect with my people in this space. And it's really
oh,
about helping to find ways that help your energy shift in that direction. And I think that's what really sets me apart.
I love how you just rephrase that. I get the opportunity to connect with my people. That was beautiful. Well, let us know one more time, what is the best website address that people can find out more about you?
Yeah, triciasbitesoflife.com is my website. You can also find me on Facebook, and I'm working on launching my YouTube channel, which is Tired to Inspired Cooking. So lots of ways to get in
Inspired to
touch.
inspired. I love it. You're really great with the whole like headlines. Perfect, perfect. Well, all I can tell you is I'm so thankful that we had this connection and got to talk even more today about it, and the emphasis on building the relationships with the people that matter most to you around the dinner table, and just the self-reflection, awareness, rephrasing how you see things, not putting all the pressure on yourself, and just being in the moment, enjoying the process. You really have given so many beautiful insights to all that will watch this and be able to kind of, take what you shared and do a little bit for themselves and find the improvements that they're going to make. So I really appreciate this because this is what it's all about. It's about our family and our friends and being connected. And you just shared with us and ourselves as well, to be connected with our own selves. And you just shared so many beautiful ways to have that happen in a joyful way. So I just really want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your success story. And
Thank
it's
you. It's been so
beautiful.
much fun. I just really believe that we as women and moms, we focus so much on making sure that everyone else feels seen, loved, and heard. And we need that too. And this is just one way that I feel like we can make ourselves seen and feel heard when we bring our best selves to the table. Then when you're starting a business or going to work, like everything just works better when you
Yeah.
feel seen, loved, and heard. And I really feel like mealtime is the place to do that. So thank you for letting me share.
Oh, thank you for sharing such goodness. So I love it. So, okay, well, wealthy women out there, you have just learned some beautiful tips from Tricia. Go check out her website, see what she's all about, and connect with her, and make your family time. Or even if you're on your own, make your special time when you cook for yourself beautiful. Serve yourself beautifully on a beautiful plate, and make a nice atmosphere. Take the time to create your own meals if you're on your own, and if you're with your family, share it together and just enjoy the whole process. And so I will see all of you the following Wednesday for another success story. But thank you again, Tricia. This was perfect. So you have a great day, everybody. Bye for now. Bye.